You might think this is just about an Italian mob boss. It's not. It's about what happens when you become the pillar of everything and can't afford to fail. And I'm going to prove that in a few minutes, but stay until the end. Because the most uncomfortable part isn't the crime. It's the mirror. And if this kind of analysis hits you, subscribe now. Because this channel isn't here to romanticize characters. It's here to dismantle them. Tony Soprano isn't just a boss. He is the room. He's the guy who walks in and everyone adjusts their tone of voice, their eyes, their posture. Because there's an invisible agreement. If Tony is okay, the system works. And when you're that guy, there's no room for weakness. You can't have a bad day. You can't look confused. You can't say, I don't know. You have to decide fast. You have to sustain the image. You have to be the wall. And that's where the show traps you. Because it doesn't show a villain, it shows a function. Tony is the kind of person who carries the entire house on his back, and no one thanks him. Because it became normal. It became an obligation. And if you've ever been the responsible one somewhere, if you've ever been the one who fixes things, you've felt this. Even if your life has nothing to do with the mafia. The pillar trap. What makes Tony Soprano so addictive as a character is that he lives two lives at the same time. On the outside, command, control, respect. On the inside, noise. And that noise doesn't start with explosions. It starts with micro failures. A silence that lasts a little too long, irritation at the wrong moment, a sense of threat, even when nothing is happening. His body keeps moving forward, but his mind starts locking up in strange places. And here's the cruel part. Everyone around him got used to Tony functioning. So when he fails, no one thinks this is human. They think this is dangerous. So he hides, he compensates. He becomes harder than he really is. Just so no one smells the fear. Because power in practice is fragile. Not because people are evil, but because they depend on your stability. When you become the pillar, you become a service. And services are not allowed to break. You might have a tight chest, but you have to smile. You might be lost, but you have to give orders. You might be imploding, but you have to be the guy. And this isn't the mafia. This is real life in a lot of homes, families, and jobs. It's the husband who can't collapse, the mother who can't stop, the child who grew up too early, the person who holds everyone together, and therefore no one asks how they're doing. Tony just makes it explicit, because he's extreme. What panic is really hiding? Most people look at Tony's panic attacks and think it's weakness. It's not. It's the body trying to save you. When you've been living beyond what's sustainable, a panic attack isn't drama, it's a short circuit. It's when the nervous system pulls the emergency brake. Because you never did. You ignored tension for too long, ignored guilt for too long, ignored fear for too long, ignored exhaustion for too long. And the body says enough. But there's something even more uncomfortable. The stronger you need to appear, the less space you have to interpret what's happening inside you. You don't stop. You don't process. You don't name it. You just push. That's why Tony needs therapy. Not because he wants to become a better person, but because somewhere inside he realizes that if he keeps pushing, he'll break in a way that can't be hidden. And here's the point most people won't admit. Tony isn't fascinating just because he's dangerous. He's fascinating because he's familiar. He's the exposed version of what many people hide in themselves. Rage, control, the need for respect, the inability to rest. Because rest for pillars feels like guilt, feels like weakness, feels like risk. When you become a character of yourself, there's something Tony does constantly, and almost no one notices how real it is. He performs. He's not just Tony, he's Tony Soprano. The voice, the posture, the stare, the interruptions, the way he dominates a room without explaining anything. That's identity built as armor, and armor works until the day you can't take it off. Because at some point, the character starts swallowing the man. Have you ever seen this happen to someone? The person who became the strong one. The person who became the cold one. the one who solves everything, the one who needs no one. At first it works. It brings respect, control, a sense of safety, but then it charges interest because constant performance has a cost. And the cost doesn't come as a big event. It shows up as a life that gets smaller, less pleasure, less real connection, less honesty, less room to feel without judging yourself. And then quietly you start asking, if I stop being this, what's left? Tony lives inside that question all the time. He just doesn't say it. He explodes, he numbs, he buys, he eats, he cheats, he attacks. He tries to fill an internal void with external things because that's easier than facing emptiness. And the show keeps you hooked for one simple reason. You're waiting for the moment he finally looks at himself. You're waiting for the moment he chooses to stop. But life doesn't stop because you understand. Life stops when you can't take it anymore. The most uncomfortable point. Tony's story isn't about crime. It's about a man who lives as if failure is forbidden. And that's a prison. Because when you believe you can't fail, you also can't rest. You can't ask for help. You can't be taken care of. You can't be small for even a minute. So everything becomes image maintenance. You don't live anymore. You sustain. And that's why so many people watch The Sopranos and feel something they can't explain. Because on some level, you get it. You get the weight, the pressure, that constant feeling of being on, even when no one's watching. And maybe that's why the show stays with you. Because it's not just about a mob boss. It's about the part of you that's holding everything together and calling it normal. If you identified with any of this, subscribe. Because this channel is going to keep doing exactly this. Taking big characters and using them as psychological x-rays. No romanticizing, no cheap motivation, no self-help nonsense. Just psychological truth disguised as entertainment. And if you stay, the next character will hit a different nerve. And you'll feel it before you understand why.